Welcome. Thank you for joining us virtually for a press briefing. My name is Kelly Chandler, and I'm the Public Health Division Manager for Itasca County. We are joined today by Itasca County Sheriff Vic Williams, Minnesota State Patrol Captain Jason Engeldinger, Chief Scott Johnson, Grand Rapids Police Department, Chris Whitney, Keewatin Police Department, Chief Brian Castellano, Deer River Police Department, and State Conservation Officer Tom Sutherland from the Minnesota DNR. We also have Jean McDonald, President and CEO of Grand Itasca Clinic and Hospital, and Dr. Dan Suhler, Vice President of Medical Affairs and Family Medicine Physician from Grand Itasca Clinic and Hospital. They will be available for the question and answer portion of this briefing. We are joined by our local and regional media. After our speakers, please submit questions via chat. We would like you to preface your questions with your name and the media organization that you represent. Our panel will respond to the questions that pertain to their organization. Itasca County Public Health has 24 confirmed positive COVID-19 cases as identified on the Minnesota Department of Health website. We believe there are other identified positive cases which will be reflected on the website within the next few days. Itasca County has been working with key community stakeholders to prepare and respond to COVID-19. We will host press briefings twice weekly with our partners and will focus on themes emerging in our community related to COVID-19. Today, we will focus on law enforcement. The county has received inquiries about enforcement of stay-at-home orders, as well as how COVID-19 affects campgrounds, resorts, opening of fishing season, etc. We invited our law enforcement partners, along with the DNR, to provide their thoughts and readiness related to COVID-19. I will now introduce the Itasca County Sheriff, Vic Williams.
Partnerships here in Itasca County. Since the onset of the COVID-19 issues, we have been fully operational in a public safety standpoint. Our offices continue to concentrate on our mission, which is to keep the public safe. And as all of you know, this is something unique in law enforcement circles because we are dealing with a health crisis. We are a supporting element to the Public Health Division, who has done a very good job and has worked very tirelessly to try to track and keep track of our issues as they come up. Currently, the Sheriff's Office is fully operational. We have to concentrate on the safety of our officers through the use of whatever PPE and disinfectant devices we can. It's unique for us because as the Sheriff's Office, we do have our correctional facility that we have to house and protect the inmates that are in our custody and control. Our 911 dispatchers are working hard, and we've created a call center through the aid of public health in order to address concerns that come in that aren't necessarily emergency in nature, but do cover the COVID-19 issue. We have not seen a tremendous, huge call increase in volume. As of right now, from a police standpoint, we have dealt with approximately less than 25 calls that are COVID related. And of those calls, not like you would hear on Facebook, we are not harassing the public. We are not picking on businesses. What we are doing is we are doing what the governor ordered in his executive order, was to educate and train people on social distancing and trying to take precautionary measures in order to preserve their safety. That's what our goal is as law enforcement. Our job is not to go out and harass business owners. Our job is not to go out and harass people and families who are getting together because they live together. Our job is to respond to calls and concerns by the public and address those needs according to what the governor's orders have been issued. At this point, we haven't seen a huge increase in problems as far as the relationship of how people, for the most part, Itasca County and northern Minnesota are complying with the governor's orders. People are staying home. We've seen decreases in the amount of activity. Now, you will hear that Home Depot was busy and this place was busy. Well, human nature will make us want to keep doing things, but we have to do them appropriately. We have to exercise social distancing, and whenever possible, make sure that you disinfect and take care of areas that you've visited a public area. Law enforcement, this is unique because this is not something we can chase down and tackle and haul to jail. This is a bug. So all we can do is support and help the elements of our public health department in order to keep it going safely and make sure that people comply to their best of their abilities and within the rights they still have as an American citizen. So with that, we will just kind of move through, and I think next will be Captain Jason Engeldinger, one of our state partners.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hi, Jason Engeldinger with the Minnesota State Patrol, the captain for Grand Rapids, Hibbing, Virginia, and International Falls. The State Patrol's mission has not wavered since the beginning of COVID-19. Our mission is traffic safety, enforcement, education, and assistance on Minnesota roadways. Our troopers have all the personal protective equipment that they need to effectively do their jobs while maintaining good social distancing as much as possible. We work collaboratively with our local law enforcement agencies and the public health across the state of Minnesota, and this is whenever we can. We have seen an increase in speeding, some vehicles at well over 100 miles an hour, and locally. DWI arrests are starting to decrease, and we hope that trend continues as we move back to social distancing as well. Our fatal rate is holding steady. We are at 93 fatalities so far this year to date, and that's not trending down, which we thought we might see. It's been holding steady at 93. We encourage Minnesotans to continue to follow the speed limit, not drink and drive focused, not distracted, put the phone away, and please wear your seatbelts each time you're out. That's our mission, and that's how we're going to keep Minnesotans safe and not tie up unnecessary hospital beds that are needed for COVID-19 patients. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Next, we will hear from Chief Scott Johnson, Grand Rapids Police Department.
Good morning. I want you to know in Grand Rapids there are some city facilities that are closed. The City Hall is closed, the library is closed, the IRA Civic Center is closed temporarily while we try to stop or at least reduce the spread of the COVID virus. The Domestic Animal Control Facility opened up on Wednesday, and we're again taking lost pets from all over the county. The Grand Rapids Public Library is, as I said, closed, but they are exploring ways to provide alternative service, maybe curbside. Our police officers are out there patrolling the community 24/7, answering all calls. There are some procedures have been put into place, though. For instance, if you want a copy of a police report, we ask that you phone the police department and we'll email you a copy of that police report or the traffic accident reports. Shoplifting calls, we're now getting those electronically via email, and we're issuing citations and mailing them to the individual. Whereas in the past we'd jail a number of people, now we're looking at alternatives to jail so that we can try to keep COVID-19 out of our county jail. If anything, the number of calls that our officers are responding to in Grand Rapids is down as compared to last year. Some departments are experiencing an increase outside of Itasca County, at least outside of Grand Rapids, in the number of domestic dispute calls. We haven't noticed that in Grand Rapids, but what we have noticed is that people seem to be under a certain amount of stress. Our check the welfare calls, which usually deal with despondent people, are up compared to a year ago. There are a number of rumors that I've heard spread around the community. Our police officers are not out there just stopping people that are out for a drive. With the people coming up from the Twin Cities this weekend for fishing opener, I can assure you officers are not out there stopping vehicles from the Twin Cities. Matter of fact, I don't even know how you determine where a vehicle's from unless you run the license plate. I think I can speak for all law enforcement in the county when I say that our goal is not to enforce the stay-at-home order. Rather, it's to educate the public. Most people are very responsible, and there hasn't been a large issue with this. Scams, there are a number of scams that are out there. Fortunately, not many of them have hit Itasca County yet. We do caution the public, though, to beware of somebody that's out there on the internet helping them to obtain government money that may be due to them, or offering to sell personal protection supplies over the internet. Usually they take the money and don't deliver the supplies. Law enforcement urges people to social distance, wash your hands, and stay healthy. Next, we'll hear from Chief Chris Whitney from the Keewatin Police Department.
Thank you and good morning. At the Keewatin Police Department, all officers have been provided with PPE, masks, disposable gloves, hand sanitizer, and all that kind of stuff has been made available to them. Residents are encouraged to make all reports of incidents over the phone and to not stop randomly into the police department if possible. If you need a copy of a report, permit to purchase, phone it in, and we could even meet curbside at residence to provide these stuff to these folks if that's needed. Officers have been instructed to use their own judgment when it comes to responding to medicals and use caution and PPE and common sense if they do respond to or are requested to respond to medicals. Traffic on our streets and the highway outside of Keewatin, we're kind of a little bit different than everywhere in the county. We're kind of tucked in and don't have a highway running through our town per se. But it has decreased noticeably. We've been seeing at night and during the day, especially after the idling of the Keetac plant. City buildings remain closed to the public, the library, city hall. We hope council meetings and such are going to be made available to the public and open to the public soon. We shall see, depending on the announcement of the governor's orders on the 18th. We have not noticed any major violations of the governor's stay-at-home social distancing orders. People have been really cautious in our community as we are made up of a large amount of senior citizens, and they are the most vulnerable to this outbreak and are using extra caution when they have to come get their mail and get some supplies at local stores and a lot of mask wearing. So that's good. And we also want to know or people have been asking if we can check on people, the older folks, we'd be happy to do that. So if anyone's concerned about an older citizen, senior citizen, or anybody, would be happy to check on them and help them out whenever possible. And I'm pretty sure this community of Nashwauk feels the same way. And they have a very similar town. And if anybody needs to be checked on, please don't hesitate to call, and we'd be glad to do that. Oh, Chief Deer River.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Costello, the Chief of Police of Deer River. We're located Highway 2, western Itasca County, right on the edge of the Chippewa National Forest. Typically, we see a lot more traffic than what we have seen the last couple of days with the fishing opener coming up this weekend. Kind of hard to say how that will play out, as usually Friday afternoon, Friday evening is the biggest time for traffic through the city of Deer River with the fishing opener. Our department has overall noticed a decrease in the amount of traffic since this COVID-19 pandemic has started, especially nighttime traffic. There's a casino west of our city, the White Oak Casino, which is now closed. So that has affected the traffic in town. We are encouraging people to call the police department or dispatch if an officer is needed instead of coming to City Hall. Our City Hall does have a license bureau, which is open. They're doing curbside transactions, I should say. No one is allowed into City Hall, but they have a window there where they are able to do transactions for license tabs, that sort of thing. Just be aware that if you come over there for those services, you may spend the day there. It has been very busy. Calls at the beginning of the year were up January, February, about 20 calls per month. The last 2 months here, March and April, are down about 20 calls per month. Our officers are equipped with appropriate PPE, supplies that they need to do their job. We're continuing business as usual, as the other presenters have talked about. We are not out harassing people for violating the governor's order. We're trying to educate people on social distancing and the proper procedures to stay safe. Next, I'll turn it over to Conservation Officer Tom Sutherland. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Thomas Sutherland, Conservation Officer of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Enforcement here out of Grand Rapids. As we all know, tomorrow is our fishing opener here for Minnesota. It's kind of a big day for us as conservation officers, and number one. And number two, really big for area residents, people from greater Minnesota and from around the country in the past have traveled to our town and our community to fish. And what we're asking of those individuals to do is, say they're from the Twin Cities or whatnot, there's a lot of great lakes around Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. There's probably lakes next to those people, you know, even Itasca County here, rather than traveling across the county, staying on your area lakes where there's some good fishing out there. So number one, we want to say just fish close to home if we can. We know this is a tradition in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, fishing opener. I grew up here, was raised here, and this is what we did on Saturday morning, no matter if it was 20 degrees or snowing out. So we know it's a tradition, but we want everyone to be safe. I've gotten multiple calls this spring and in recent of individuals, locals, concerned about people from out of the state, out of the area coming fishing. We know that our numbers of our residents in the rural areas are older demographically, and those populations are really concerned about people from outside the area coming in. So we ask just stay close and fish from home. Obviously, we have family that are probably from urban areas. We just ask if you can ask them, give them a call and say, hey, could you just maybe this fishing opener, just stay home if you can. If you are going to be out fishing, just make sure you bring all your supplies with you that you need, so to stop any unnecessary stops at extra gas stations and all those things. We also ask if you can only travel, if you travel and it's one tank of gas, you know, so you don't have to make all the unnecessary stops. So that'll help limit exposures also. We ask that if you can do it, and we would like you to do it, boat with only individuals from your family, your immediate family, so you're not exposing others from other families that may or may not have been exposed to COVID. Also, we have to realize once we do get out to these fishing areas and these docks and rural accesses on these lakes, some of the accesses aren't going to be maintained like they normally have. A lot of the DNR's employees that maintain the state accesses haven't been able to maintain them, haven't been able to put the docks out. Maybe there's ice damage from ice ridges with the ramps, so just be very aware that they might not be in the fine order that they normally are in the spring. Also, we just need to know that all the other applicable laws are all still the same, even all this is going on. The regulations in the 2020 regulation book are the same, and like all the phone calls I've been getting and, you know, on social medias, there's no extra walleye, COVID walleye this year, you know, so you got to still have your limits and you know, your limits for your specific lake. Okay. Also, AIS, invasive species, is also one of our main concerns. So I know we have a lot of this going on with COVID, but still think about those things, checking your boats when you leave the landings. Also today, if you're, instead of going to the gas station to buy your license, if you need it or whatnot, let's just try to do it. If we can buy it online, that helps limit exposures also. Also, if you see us conservation officers out there, we might ask you, instead of going next to your boat and getting in your boat and checking everything, we might just ask you to hold your fishing license up. So that's to protect you and to protect us also. So, as always, have a great opener.
Thanks, Tom. We will now turn it over to the question and answer portion of our press briefing. Again, we ask that you submit your questions via chat and identify yourself and the media organization you represent. First question is from Greg Grell from WDSC. People who come through the area from elsewhere have been asked not to stop anywhere along their route to reduce the possibility of spreading the virus. How will that order be enforced? Sheriff or Captain?
Really, this is just a courtesy request. There's nothing illegal about stopping at a gas station and replenishing your fuel. What we are trying to do is just give options as to limit the access to other people, or limit your access to stop and goes, or limit the exchange in public places. Basically, our request for people to fuel up and try to travel within one tank of gas is simply a request for our sake to try to limit access to the communities. But certainly it's not illegal for you to stop and replenish your fuel.
Thank you, Sheriff. Kathy from KOZY. We've heard stories of residents attacking each other at the grocery store, like throwing a pound of butter, for example, because one person wasn't wearing a mask. How does law enforcement handle this? Do one of our chiefs want to take that one?
Early on, we did get reports of people purposely coughing on produce and things of that nature. People's nerves are kind of on edge. When we get a call like that, we'll go and we'll separate the parties, try to reason with them and restore peace. The rest is a last resort, and we haven't had to arrest anybody. So.
Chief, I'll have you stay up because the next question is directed at you. We have Beth from ICTV. Chief Johnson, how is law enforcement working with the homeless individuals camping within the community?
Well, there's nobody camping in the community because the campgrounds are closed. The county campgrounds are closed. Federal campgrounds and state campgrounds are closed to overnight camping. Therefore, there is no camping. Exception is for seasonal camping. Per the governor's order, seasonal camping is somebody that rents a camping spot for the entire season, and they have to leave personal property there. Homeless, there are options in the community. One of them is the Grace House.
Thank you. Jennifer from ICTV. I've heard the sheriff and Chief Johnson talk about educating the public about social distancing. Our Grand Rapids City Hall is closed to the public, yet just yesterday as I was walking, I saw 3 Public Works employees in a truck together not wearing masks. It's really mixed messaging when even city employees aren't following recommendations. Why aren't they being forced to follow guidelines?
Well, as a police chief, I can't speak for the Public Works Department. I'll certainly bring that to the Public Works Director's attention. All city employees are screened from the moment they walk through the door each morning. Their temperature is taken. They've all been issued masks that they can wear if it's appropriate. I'll bring that to the attention of the Public Works Director.
Thank you. Beth?
Just wanted to add something to that. We also have the issue of these are communal work settings. Essential workers are forced to go to work every day and have cross-contamination with our fellow workers. We know that there are precautions that we should be taking. We know that it does come down to a personal choice. But once people are screened and are working in an environment where you're with the same people every day, it's almost like a family setting. And we know we should be exhibiting that. And there may be reasons, whether it's health or personal preference, that they're not, but we do know that these employees are being screened. So they are not symptomatic, which is a major concern. When the first onset of the virus happened, they'd ask you to wear a mask if you were showing signs or were symptomatic. And most of the employees or all of the employees are screened on a daily basis.
Thank you. Beth from ICTV. To the sheriff and DNR, the Leech Lake Band has asked on social media that people stay away from their lands. Are you supporting that request? And for the DNR, are there any special regulations within the reservation based on the band request?
We respect the position of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. The problem that we run into is it is a open reservation. There are cohabitants inside the reservations that are not subject to tribal jurisdiction. What we are asking everyone to do, including the tribal governments, is to exercise the social distancing and exercise the request by the governor to use these certain types of situational preventative measures. And when it comes to wanting to refuse them to be able to attend these properties, a lot of times Indian trust land or any of the tribal lands are also federally governed, so that we cannot prohibit people from going on or exercising. They can do this request. The enforceable nature of that by law enforcement is very limited. And I do not believe, and I could check when I will check with Ken Washington with the tribal police, the chief, to see if what measures they're going to take to try to reduce access to their properties.
Yeah, as far as the DNR is concerned, we understand the Native American, the Leech Lake tribe here and whatnot, that they have the older communities that are more susceptible to the COVID. And we just ask people from outside the area that are coming here to be aware of that. We are aware of their concern. It's been brought up with us. But the sheriff, Vic, said very well exactly our stance on it also.
Heidi from KXC, what should someone do if neighbors are loud and having parties, or if we see lots of young people congregating? I realize these are just guidelines, but should a citizen call law enforcement?
The answer is yes. Call law enforcement at any time. We will respond, and if we find that there's a large gathering, we'll ask them to separate. We've received probably 4 or 5 calls like that since this stuff has begun, and each time they've cooperated. So yes, call the police department or the sheriff's department.
Thank you. We're down to 5 more minutes. Kathy from KOZY, some boat landings are closed for the opener because of social distancing. Where can citizens receive a list?
Yeah, on our DNR website, dnrmn.gov, I believe, it has our state sites. If some are closed due to maintenance issues, but as the state goes, our state are open unless they're posted closed, and that'll be online. I was made aware that the county landings, they're all open. A lot of the federal ones are closed though, and that's in accordance with the campgrounds that are with them. So some of those are closed. So you're going to want to check ahead, always make some phone calls, check ahead, especially if you are traveling, even though we discourage that, to make sure that those areas are open. So you always have a plan B.
So we're down to 4 minutes. If there's another question, we have time for one more. Okay, seeing no more questions, thank you so much for joining us for this press briefing, and stay well and have a safe fishing opener. Thank you.